Today's segment of Sound Balming is brought to you by Jimmy and Mary's Authentic Body Care. I cannot express to you how much we love their products. Although we use them all year, as the weather gets colder, we need these products even more. The dreaded drop in temperature, the dryness, the itchiness, and the unnecessary flakiness is inevitable. Shea butter from Jimmy and Mary's Authentic Body Care is the only thing that works for my skin and hair needs. Not only do these products cure my dry skin, the whipped butter goes on smoothly and doesn't leave that uncomfortably thick, sticky residue. Bonus? It smells absolutely amazing. There are so many different scents to choose from too. Not only do they carry skincare products, there are products for authentic living, face, shower, hair and beard, spritzers and perfumes, and bath products. Let me tell you, we cannot even keep the stuff in the studio. The entire production team as well as all our children use Jimmy and Mary's product. Jimmy and Mary's take pride in creating quality, handcrafted products from simple ingredients for the entire family. Their products are made for all skin types and are 100% handmade, 100% vegan, and 100% cruelty-free. Skincare is important. Moisture is key, and keeping our skin and hair hydrated is essential. I cannot emphasize how much we trust Jimmy and Mary's for all of our skincare needs. Hurry on up to jimmyandmarys.com and check out their products. Did I mention service is fast and efficient too? Don't forget to mention that you heard about Jimmy and Mary's Authentic Skincare on Sound Balming. Use the discount code SOUNDBALM20 to get 15% off. That's SOUNDBALM20 for 15% off at Jimmy and Mary's Authentic Skincare.
Hey everybody, welcome to Sound Bombing. I created this show for people who want to experience a radical, life-changing journey through the sounds of my diverse guests. I hope that each sound you hear on this show will strengthen your faith, encourage your dreams, and challenge you to awaken the greatness within you.
Drop the bombs. Drop the bomb. We're gonna drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We're gonna drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We come to drop the bomb. Drop the bomb.
This is a journey into sound. A journey which along the way will bring to you new color, new dimension, new values, and a new experience.
Lamar Darnell Shields.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever the time of the day it is. Who am I? I'm so glad you asked. I'm Dr. Lamar Darnell Shields, and welcome to my show. I am the creator of Sound Bombing, and my goal with this show is to introduce you to people with ideas that will help you unlock your full potential. Like today's guest, Doug Cartwright. Doug is a speaker, author, and the CEO and founder of The Daily Shifts, an online company dedicated to inspiring, lasting transformation of the mind, body, and soul. The Daily Shifts was born from Doug's personal journey of introspection and healing. You know, this entire show is about this. Where was, in his words, where he was prior to that, caught up in what he would call the success void. You know, when everything is going great, everything looks good on paper, you got money, you got cars, you got trips all over the country. But internally, Doug felt this deep void that it was never enough. So what did he do? He didn't go out and buy a Tesla. He didn't go to the Jay-Z concert. He decided to look at, well, maybe he did do that. So he decided to look at a different direction that lead to what we profess on this show. He focused on mindfulness, spirituality, yoga, healing, and psychedelic healing. Doug has reinvented himself and has joined me today to share his amazing journey and story, as well as to discuss his new book, Holy Shit. Yes, I said it. Holy Shit, We Are Alive, which follows his personal story of psychedelic journey into meditation, silent retreats, astrophysics, neuroscience, philosophy, and all forms of self-healing. I know today sounds like we're about to go out into the moon, to Mars, but we're about to go into a place in a space maybe some people have not seen yet. And you will not be traveling by yourself, because I invited my friend Doug Cartwright to join me today in the bomb shelter. Doug, thanks for your patience, brother. Thanks for joining me in the bomb shelter. And let our listeners know two things. How are you doing and where you are calling in from?
Dr. Lamar, what an intro. Thank you so much. I'm feeling great. I just got done with I'm in Los Angeles, California. I actually just moved here this week. So I'm in my new setup, and I just got done with a little Peloton, a little yoga flow, a little meditation. So I'm feeling the vibe right now.
Well, that is great, man. I always like to do a check-in before I get started, because, of course, we are in a pandemic, right? Of course, we have all this stuff going on, from, social injustices, inequity. We have court hearings going on right now. We have the budget all over the place, but we still need to take care of ourselves. And that's what my show is about. I'm excited that you decided to hang out with me. Man, my producer sent me so many things to watch, videos, books to read, excerpts, look at other stuff. I'm like, do I not have a life? No, they know that I like to be fully researched when I'm bringing people on this show. And I want to get started with, let's get down to your childhood. Now, see, the reality is we can talk about all the money that you've made. You're a multimillionaire. You are a recovering Mormon. No, you were a Mormon. Could be recovering Mormon. I don't know how you want to take that. But, a lot of times we talk about all the great things we've done. But what I love and what I remind people about, my love is our backstory. My love is the stories that we tell ourselves. But I like to remind people, before Michael Jordan, there was an AAU basketball coach that worked with him. Before Alicia Keys made it to where she was, there was a program in New York City, Harlem, New York, that helped her get to where she was. Before Adele, who has this amazing album coming out, before she was a Grammy Award winning singer, there was somebody that said, girl, you need to listen to Motown. You need to listen to Cyndi Lauper. You need to listen to all those other people. There were some people that knew them before they made it big. And one thing I know is that you have a backstory. For someone who talked about working out on the Peloton, someone who runs, I know from what I read, they called you the fat kid. There was a term that they gave you that you like, listen, that's not who I am, but that's who I was at that time. Share with us what that meant, being the fat kid growing up, and then talk to us about your childhood, and then what role that played in who you've become right now.
Yeah, I think, my child actually had a really great childhood. I'm very, very lucky that I was raised in a really healthy home with a family that loved and supported me. But like you said, we all have a thing and a story that I told myself. And I was overweight as a kid, and I didn't understand the depth of how much that was affecting me until I got older. And there was a moment that I still have imprinted in my memory today, being in second grade, being at recess and getting teased for being fat. And I remember that was kind of the first time I was consciously aware that I was different, and that the story I then told myself was that, oh, something's wrong with me. And because something's wrong with me, I don't fit in. And, especially as being kids, you want to fit in and make friends and be a part of the group. And so I then felt like, oh, wow, I need to be accepted. So now I have to prove to everyone why I'm valuable. So I then spent, the rest of my life, elementary school, junior high, high school, college, playing from behind, feeling like I had to prove my worth to everyone. And that story literally drove and influenced every decision I made, because at my core, felt like I was unlovable, and I felt like something was wrong with me, and then I had to prove myself to everyone. And that was a really exhausting way to live.
Well, what I discovered in researching you is that even though you were considered the fat kid and you were sort of an outlier, you had a lot of optimism. So how could a kid who considered himself this fat kid who was somewhat different have so much optimism and then attract so many people who wanted to be around them?
Yeah. So I wouldn't say the word suffer, but I, experienced what I call positive trauma. We hear about trauma, and in that, we have people have gone through really difficult experiences that affect their life in a negative way. I felt like I experienced positive trauma in the sense that my parents loved me and supported me, and I never saw my parents fight ever. And I came from a very loving, safe household. And so my perception of what the world was very safe and playful and fun, and everyone loves one another, and it was great. And I kind of had this unrealistic expectation of that's how the world operated, because when I went home, I was safe. And so I remember getting older and realizing, having conversations with friends, and my friends telling me like their parents are getting divorced or being at a friend's house and their parents are fighting. And I was like, what is going on? This is so bizarre. Like something must be wrong with them. And then getting older, I realized I'm like, wow, I was actually really, really lucky and really, really rare to come from such a loving household. And where it really affected me too was in my dating relationships, because, I never saw my parents fight one time as a kid. And I thought that that's how every relationship was. And so if I was dating someone and we had a disagreement, I was like, oh, well, this isn't the one, it's not going to work. And so I'd throw the relationship aside. And so I think that optimism came from what I experienced to be a very, very loving, safe household. And that in a way that created trauma for me, because I had this realistic expectation of how the world was supposed to be.
Wow. Since we're talking about childhood, I want to stay there for a second. And thank you for your transparency and just talking about how you were raised. During that time, what were you passionate about as a child? Like what really excited Doug? You grew up in this great family. You said you were somewhat different from the other kids, but where were your passions at that time? Because I think about me as a kid, I love baseball. I love hanging out. I love, building certain things. I love hanging out. My bike was like my car growing up in Chicago.
Yeah.
Like my bike was like the car I grew up at a time where we stayed out all day. Coming to the house, my mother thought something was wrong. Like, why are you back in the house? I grew up at a time where drinking water from the side of the house, the water hose, like I tell people, that was the best water before all this other water. Like I could probably sell some of that water that came.
Hose water is the best.
Would you tell them, Doug? Hose water is
the best.
The truth, man.
I get it.
We didn't care about hygiene, anything. You just like, man, give me the hose, what have you. So growing up as a kid, of course you grew up as a Mormon. So I want you to talk about that a little bit. But what were you passionate about as a kid?
Yeah, I love sports. I was the same way. I loved football. I love college football. I love NFL. I love baseball. I was diehard like Utah Jazz fan growing up in Utah. So I'm watching Stockton and Malone and Hornacek, and I loved sports. It was my hobby, and I was really lucky too because my dad was a sports guy too, and he was kind of the community coach. So he would coach my little league football team, and he would coach my basketball team. And so it was really cool to build that bond with him. And we were just diehard watching, World Series and NFL Sunday and the Jazz on the weekdays. And so, I was the same way. I was playing backyard baseball too.
So we had a very similar childhood. So from researching you, what I discovered is that you had not only just a great childhood, as you mentioned, you had many of the challenges that most of us had, being picked up and things like that. But then you became a millionaire. You made tons of money. But what I discovered from my research is that you weren't satisfied with that. That wasn't enough. Can you tell us about a specific trigger that made you decide that you were going to go in a different direction? Because again, one of the things that I was listening to as I was driving in, my son was playing a Meek Mill song. And one of the rules he talked about on the streets is don't count your friend's money. So you look at that and you think that he or she is having a great time, quote unquote, turning up, as the young people said. But there was a turning moment in your life where you decided to go in a different direction. Walk us through that process of that transition.
Yeah. So taking a few steps back, before that, grew up in a safe, childhood, like we just explained. My dad passed away when I was 21. So that was really, really devastating for me to lose my dad to cancer because we were so close. And so that kind of made me feel a bit lost. So in my, growing up as a fat kid, not feeling like I was accepted for who I was and having to prove myself and kind of feeling like I was always in the shadow through my junior high and high school years. And then right after high school, I then lost my dad. And at the same time, I was kind of separating away from Mormonism, where it wasn't really resonating with me anymore. And in my early 20s, I find this opportunity to work in fully 100% commission sales, being a salesman in a door-to-door space. And I remember having a physical change, feeling it in my soul that I needed to go all in. So I became obsessed with sales and leadership and recruiting and managing. And in my early 20s, I became a phenomenal salesman and started making tons of money. By the time I was in my mid-20s, I was making over $1 million. And what really that was for me was I was trying to show the world why I was valuable, because my physical appearance was off. I was broken because my dad left. I didn't have a relationship with God. So I thought, oh, okay, if I can make a bunch of money, society looks at that very highly and I'll be approved of. So then I can show you how much money I have, right? I'll buy a car and be flashy. I'll buy a Breitling and put it on my wrist and let you know I have my Breitling. I'll sit front row at the Super Bowl and at the World Series and NBA Finals. And I'm going to post about it on Instagram so you can all see. So what I really was striving for in that time was I was just dying to be seen and heard, because my whole life I always felt like something was wrong with me. And the turning point, I remember the first time things changed was, it was 2000. I can't remember if it was 14 or 15, but it was when the Seahawks played the Patriots in the Super Bowl and they threw the interception at the 1 yard line. Right.
I remember, man. I was so hurt with that play. Like, who called that play? Because he was
just
really
give it
close.
To beast mode. Just give it to beast mode.
Come on. Don't take me. I'm about to start crying right now.
Yeah. So I was at that game in a suite. And Dan Snyder, the owner of the Redskins suite, sitting right next to Kevin Durant. Like me and KD were like arms around each other, like jumping up and down during the interception, right? And, I'm posting pictures with me hanging out with Kevin Durant, right? And I'm kind of living this dream. And I remember I was on such a high because, later that night there was the after party at the W Hotel and I was VIP hanging out with Drake, like living the life I thought I was supposed to be living. A week or two after that, I remember I was flying from Salt Lake City to New York to go to the NBA All-Star game. It was in Brooklyn that year. And I remember as the plane was taking off thinking like, the only reason I'm going to New York for the NBA All-Star game is so I can post a picture and post it on Instagram. Like, I don't care about the game. And I'm like, and that was the first time I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I'm not even living for me, right? I'm living based upon this idea of what I think people think I am. I'm not living my life. I'm living the life I think others think I'm supposed to be living. And that was kind of the first time in my life where I was like, things need to change. I'm not happy. I don't have a relationship with God. I haven't dealt with my dad dying. I still think I'm the fat kid trying to prove myself to everyone. And that's when I was like, wow, like on the outside world, I look successful, right? But like, I feel miserable inside. And that was kind of the first time where I was like, things need to start changing.
Wow. I love that story. Makes a lot of sense. And I'm sure it definitely resonates with me. And I'm sure it resonates with my audience when we're thinking about the things that we place value on, and we are constantly judging ourselves through others' lenses. Of course, about the research and data that just came out about Facebook, about Instagram, about us looking at other people. So you talked about that defining moment. Let's talk about some of the questions. What are some of the questions that you've asked yourself to then help you define your purpose that then ultimately help you to reinvent yourself?
Yeah. So what really happened was, as I was like living this lavish lifestyle, right? I'm flying first class, I'm staying at nice hotels, going to these amazing events. Every now and then, whether I was sitting up in first class or I'd bump into someone at the lobby of a nice hotel, I would meet really interesting people who it felt like they had it all figured out. Like they were radiating positivity and happiness and connection. And you can just, when you meet those people and they just feel like they're a magnet of like love and success. And every now and then I'd run into these people and I'm like, what do you know that I don't? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. Like, I'm making great money. I'm traveling. I'm doing the sporting events. I'm dating the pretty girls. I got the Breitling. I got the Mercedes. But like, you are just radiating this incredible love. And I remember thinking like, what do these people know that I don't? And so that was when I started to understand and ask the question. I'm like, oh, maybe it's not about money. Maybe it's not about status. Maybe it's not about my outward experience. And my religion at the time wasn't really working for me and whatnot. So I'm like, maybe I need to, I started asking myself, what type of people feel fulfilled, seem calm, seem like are in a very healthy place. And that's when I started to look at like meditation, yoga, mindfulness, and spirituality. Because at the time that seemed very hippy dippy, weird, not into it. But I'm like, the people, they feel pretty grounded. So maybe I'll go take a little bit of a dabble in this space. And that, just peeking over around the corner eventually led me down the rabbit hole and changed my whole life.
So before we get into some of the specifics, you then sort of reinventing yourself, what hurdles did you have to overcome to then take your life in a new direction? And then how did you overcome those challenges? Because again, you're introducing yourself to psychedelic stuff. You're introducing yourself to mindfulness and meditation. Let's talk about some of those hurdles, because again, what I know, when you start to progress, when you're going in that direction where you are becoming more conscious and more aware, that's when more things come at you. They come at you harder and harder and harder. And quite often then many of us sort of fail. Before we get into the specifics of the meditation, the mindfulness of the thing, talk to us about some of the hurdles that you had to overcome.
I think the biggest hurdle I had to overcome was letting go of what I thought people were going to think of me. So give me some examples of some things that people might have said or that they did say when you talk about thinking, what they might think of you. Yeah. So my reputation at my job before was I literally had the nickname The King. Because I was like this incredible salesman who was an incredible leader and recruiter and manager. And I was like the toxic sales masculine bro that drove the Mercedes and had, the watch and was making money and spending it. So I had this kind of perception of who I thought I was supposed to be. And I was like, okay, now I'm going to turn, go yoga and meditate and potentially try psychedelic experiences. And people are going to think I'm crazy. And I'm like, wow, I literally had mentors reach out to me once they heard that I had participated in a healing psychedelic ceremony. And they're like, hey, we heard you got into drugs. We're really, really worried about you. And I was like, no, this is the right path for me. But really, one of my favorite quotes that ties in with this is that really resonated with me was understanding that to become who you truly are, you have to let go of who you thought you were supposed to be. So there was this version of Doug. Yeah. There was this version of Doug who I thought I was supposed to be. This Mormon kid, this successful sales guy, this incredible leader and manager. And I had to let go of that version of me to step into who I truly am. And I feel like so many of us try to live up to this expectation who we think we're supposed to be. So to answer your question, the hardest hurdle was letting go of the version of Doug who I thought that I was supposed to be.
Well, you mentioned psychedelics. And so when I think of psychedelics, I think of Jimi Hendrix. I think of the hippie movement. I think of all of these colors and moves, just like a kaleidoscope of different colors. First of all, what are psychedelics and what are the benefits of taking them? And then tell us about your first experience taking psychedelics. What did you take? What did you see?
Yeah. So I was very similar to you. My experience and ideas of psychedelics were hippy dippy, weird drugs. Don't ever do it. It's, for Looney Tune stuff, whatever, people that are kind of got a little loopy, whatever. And I started studying the benefits of working with these compounds in regards to healing PTSD and trauma and anxiety. And I remember thinking oh my gosh, there's something here. There's something really, really powerful here. And I remember feeling I have to give this a shot. And so I go into really good detail in my book, Holy Shit, We're Alive, because it gets really, really crazy with twists and turns and, really interesting coincidences. But my first psychedelic experience was so incredibly life-changing. And I would say, very bluntly, it's cool to be a part of a moment where I had an experience and overnight my entire life changed and it has never been the same since. And that was my first experience with psychedelics. And I participated and took, some people don't necessarily call this psychedelic, but MDMA. I had an MDMA experience, my first experience, and it literally felt like my mind. So I don't know if you can see like this painting behind me.
Yes.
It's like, where like someone's mind just like being really, really wide, expanded in the galaxy. I felt like I had that experience. I literally had that experience where my mind got opened up so wide, and I was able to feel what I interpreted as the love of the creator for the first time. Whether you call it God or soul or divine or, heavenly father, whatever your word is, I felt the love of something infinitely more wise than me that loved me indefinitely. And I'd never experienced God's love before.
Now, are these pills that you take? Are they liquids? Walk us through what this actually is, because again, I've had several people on who talked about psychedelic experiences. Of course, like you, I'm thinking 50s, 60s, entertainers, musicians, things like that. And is it legal? Is it something that you can buy over the counter, or you got to meet somebody in the alley and be like, "Yo, I need that red pill today"?
Yeah. So and there's kind of the foundational psychedelics would be psilocybin, which are magic mushrooms, which is just like a mushroom that grows in nature,
which I'm familiar with.
And then there's LSD, which is a popular psychedelic, which is usually put on a blotter pad. There's MDMA, which is a pill form. And then the other psychedelic I've participated in is DMT, which is dimethyltryptamine, or which is the active ingredient in ayahuasca, which is a tea. And so those are the main psychedelics I've worked with. That first night we're talking about, it was actually a pill form. It was a pill form a press pill that I took, and had, like one of those incredible life-changing experiences. And I would say to this day, my experiences with psychedelics are the most profound, special, life-changing experiences I've ever had in my life.
And so where do you typically get something like that? Is this over the counter?
It's illegal. I mean, it's illegal stuff right now, but what's really cool is if you follow MAPS organization, they're really pushing for legalization of MDMA because the studies are showing, especially treatments with PTSD, especially in veterans, because it is Veterans Day today, which is cool, that the work with MDMA with veterans is showing phenomenal healing science, which is incredible. And so hopefully, in the next year or two, a lot of these compounds will be legalized and you'll be able to work with a therapist in the proper setting.
So I love that you said definitely working with a therapist, someone who has some frame of reference when it comes to that, because we don't want anybody to be confused with, okay, what are we promoting, what have you. But beyond that, my question, the connection with that. So what does psychedelics give you that you are not getting from the Mormon faith?
Yeah.
Or your connection with mindfulness as well.
Mm-hmm. I think that what psychedelics do really, really well is they don't give you the answer, right? They don't just tell you what's going on. They have an incredible ability to remove your ego from the equation of life. So we're always so used to I'm used to looking at our own lives from my own lens, right? Of like the lens of Doug. And when you have a psychedelic experience, it almost feels like you're removed from the situation and you can view your life from a bird's eye view. Right. And you can see angles and things behind you and blind spots that you normally couldn't see. And so it's a really powerful tool of exposing you to maybe subconscious stories or subconscious beliefs you're holding that are affecting you. So a prime example was I didn't realize how much my fat kid story was still affecting me, that like my whole life in the back of my mind, I'm trying to prove everyone that I'm worthy because at my core, I feel like I'm broken. And then these psychedelic experiences showed me like, hey, you're lovable just the way you are and you're worthy and you can let go of that story. And it really embodies and embraces, to answer your question about God, what's called the mystical experience. And it's really hard to explain if you've never had it, but it really embodies this spirit or this energy. And I never would have claimed to be a spiritual person before my work with psychedelics. But you have these experiences where you have this interaction with such a deep, loving energy or source or creation, and it changes you. And it's a really beautiful connection you can find in those spaces.
So, it's interesting. Most cultures use some form of, if we don't want to call it psychedelic, some altering state type of something, but it typically comes from the nature. Like, for example, I've used kava kava, and I discovered that kava kava comes from one of the native people. I can't think which one, but I remember taking some when I was in St. Louis, and my part. It was the funniest thing because this was like pure stuff, and I was like, "Yo, man, what is going on?" And we had to go and meet with a group of people. Like I'm just because I take the drops for my energy, and then when I went on to read it, I was like, "Whoa!" They typically use it in ceremonies, and they pass it sort of around and things of that nature. So my concern is anything that sort of alters my state that I have no control over, because I attempt to be in control. So I put in quotes. So I want to be mindful of that because this can be highly addictive, correct? Like psychedelics and things of that nature.
I don't think they're not chemically addictive. Like your body doesn't crave it, something like maybe an opioid, you literally have withdrawals. I don't crave the psychedelic experience because it is difficult for me. I mean, it's not for me, it's not fun to do because it exposes me to my dirty laundry, right? It exposes me to the things in my life I don't want to really look at. But it's so healing and so powerful. And so, but yeah, it's important that, these aren't toys. It's not like you should just go do this in your room by yourself one night. But, the most important things are the right setting, and the right intention, right? Ask yourself, why are you doing this? Like, what's the purpose of you wanting to have this experience? Is it to heal trauma? Is it to heal pain? Is it to get higher perspective and a connection to a creator? And having, someone with you who's a facilitator who understands the psychedelic space is really, really important, because there is, there's a potential for there to go wrong and have it to be a more of a difficult experience. And that's possible. And that's happened to me.
Well, you mentioned one of my favorite words, intention. I know you have a brand new book out. I think it came out this year in August. Yeah. It's called Holy Shit, We Are Alive, where you share with readers how to live with intention, trust yourself, and then to show up every day for a meaningful life. What does intention mean to you, and what would my listeners gain from reading your book, Holy Shit, We're Alive?
Yeah, intention is, I think, the most powerful idea and word that I've really embraced in my life, because too often than not, I feel like a lot of us are just on autopilot, right? We're just kind of reacting to the day. Just kind of life is pulling us and turning us in every direction. And we're not being thoughtful of why we're doing the things we're doing and the truth behind why are we doing what we're doing. Why do you have the job you have? Why are you in the relationship you want or you are? Like, why do you live where you live? And really embracing what's your true intention behind everything you're doing really frees you in a way that you didn't know was possible. And the book came out August 10th, and it's been an incredible ride. I had no idea the success it was going to get. Hit #1 bestseller, which was awesome on Amazon. And thank you. The whole purpose behind the book and the intention behind the book is to help the reader look at their life in a different lens and broaden their awareness to help them realize, that they can bring a stronger, more powerful intention behind what they're doing to increase the quality of their life.
Now, I know in the book, in all of in your writing, you reference The Matrix, you reference Alice in Wonderland, you reference Star Wars, but you don't reference me. No, I'm just playing. Why do you reference those? The Matrix, Alice in Wonderland, Star Wars in your work? And then what do these famous fictional works have to do with discovering life's purpose?
Yeah, I think, we all as human beings, we relate so much to stories, right? And we learn through stories. And I think one of the most coveted, powerful skill sets anyone can have is storytelling. And there's so many, it's interesting, after kind of going through my experiences of heightening my awareness, going back and watching these stories, Star Wars and Matrix, Alice in Wonderland, you see the deeper messages that the creator and the authors and the writers were trying to portray. And so I bring up these popular movies and books and stories in my book to help bridge the gap of understanding for the reader. Because, I really believe there's a deeper hidden message in so many of our popular shows and books that once you understand them, you can embrace those ideas and take them into your own life and learn and grow from those stories as well.
All right, if my listeners want to get a copy of your book, and if they want to know more about psychedelics and just want to know more about what Doug Cartwright is up to, how can they get in contact with you?
And the easiest way to get the book is on Amazon. Holy Shit, We're Alive. And I'm the most active on Instagram at Doug_Cartwright. And I answer every one of my DMs. I carve about 45 minutes to an hour every day to respond to DMs. So people, if the book resonated in any way, if you have a question, I will absolutely respond to you. And I would love to hear from anyone.
Doug, why did you choose the title, Holy Shit, We Are Alive?
Yeah, so it came to me, I was in a deep ayahuasca ceremony, which is a really, really powerful psychedelic experience. And I felt like I was taken out of my body, and I was in like the cosmos. I know this sounds kind of crazy. And then I was put back into my body, and my mind was completely still. And it was like almost in a sense of being reborn. And I remember looking at my hands and like being able to close and open my fists and thinking like, oh my gosh, this is what it feels like to be fully alive. My mind is fully quiet. I'm not thinking about my trauma or my pain or my experiences, and I'm fully embracing my humanness. And I'm like, holy shit, like this is what it feels like to be alive. This is incredible. And looking back at my notes, and I was trying to figure out my title, I was like, I had a different title for the book. I didn't love it. And then going through my notes, I was rereading that ayahuasca experience, and I'm like, oh, holy shit, we're alive. Yeah. What an incredible time to be alive. And so that was the cue to make me to change my title for that. So
great story. Love the title.
Thank you.
Love what you're doing. You cannot leave. The second part of the show is called the Super Bomb Questions. And I ask them different questions. This time I'm going to ask some short questions, but I need you to respond as quickly as possible. You ready?
Ready.
All right, Doug, what's your favorite word?
Intention.
What's your favorite quote?
To become who you truly are, you have to let go of who you thought you were supposed to be.
What's your superpower?
Self-love.
What's your spirit animal?
Coyote.
What's the book or books you've given out most as the gift, and why?
Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, because he does an incredible job of understanding the voice inside your head.
What's a ritual you do that helps you stay connected to your inner power?
Meditation.
Final question. Doug Cartwright, if you were in the Mr. America talent competition, what would your talent be?
Connecting with others on a soulful level.
And we're going to end it right there, brother Doug Cartwright. Thanks for hanging out with me. Listen up, people. Go to his website. Check out his book, Holy Shit, We Are Alive. He will inspire you, motivate you, and he has classes that you can sign up for. So, Doug, thanks for hanging out with me today. I appreciate you.
Dr. Lamar, thank you, my friend.
And I also want to thank my amazing engineer, Alexander Blanc, my new producer, Carrie. Thank you, Carrie. Supremacy for our theme music, and all of you for listening. Listen, we can't do this without you, so we need you to subscribe. Share us with all of your friends. We're on every platform. If you want to know more about me, go to drdrlds.com. Check us out. And as always, do something for someone other than yourself today. You've been listening to Sound Bombing. Peace.
The Super Bomb questions are brought to you by Mountain Made CBD. Mountain Made is changing the CBD game by offering a line of high-dose CBD tablets at an affordable price. Their products are THC-free and third-party tested for accuracy, cleanliness, and potency. Their products, which ship nationwide, include Build for CBD saturation, Boost for precision titration, and Recover for rest and rehab. With 9 years experience in hemp and fitness, Mountain Made's founders are focused on creating a quality product to help those who live an activated lifestyle. Check out mountainmade.life. Again, that's mountainmade.life to find out more about how their products can help you crush life. Remember, their products ship nationwide. Go check out their website today and follow them on social media at Mountain Made. That's the @MNTMADE. Our staff at Sound Bombing uses Build before a morning workout, which helps to push our bodies to a whole new level on a daily basis. Try Build, try Boost, try Recover. Our staff is using these products to enhance our active lifestyle naturally, and we are crushing life with Mountain Made CBD, and you can too. Start today by going to mountainmade.life and ordering Build, Boost, Recover, or the multitude of other products that they have, which will enhance your lifestyle. I promise you, you won't regret it.